Hello everyone, we're going to take a quick minute to go over the rib tool in SolidWorks. The rib tool is really handy for creating a rib, which is the technical term of like a gusseting, a bracing type feature. Um, and I'm specifically going to use some round objects because they sometimes pose a little bit of an issue. The idea of the rib tool is that we should be able to draw a profile and have us create a 3D joining portion. So that's what we're going to do. I'm starting out with this, basically made the base using a slot, made two round towers, and we're going to kind of fill it in between here using a rib tool. So the easiest way for me to do that is my front plane cuts right through there. So I'm going to use my front plane and I'm going to go up and I'm going to start a sketch. And I'm going to start with just the really simplest one, which would be to draw from this point to that point, straight across the gap. I do end up with a fully defined line, which is great. And I'm going to exit my sketch. I'm also going to show an isometric view real quick. So the line is currently highlighted. And when I go over to features, over here in my modify area, I've got rib. And when I click rib, it's going to show me a width, which I can control here. So if I don't want it to be 10 millimeters, if I only want it to be, let's call it 4, I can make it thinner, and you can see that from my preview. I've got an extrusion direction, which you can mess with if it's not facing the right way. Like mine's right now kind of facing the up and down direction with my my material side being pointed down. That's actually exactly what I want. But if I wanted it to go sideways, maybe I have a more complex part here, I can also change this. So like in this case, it'd be going sideways, but that's not what I want. I want this to be going up and down, and then specifically I want it to go down. If the arrow is pointed the wrong direction, I can use this flip material side to change that, or if you just click the arrow, it automatically checks that box or unchecks it. We're going to flip that back down. Now, I'm going to point a few things out as soon as I finish this, but again, all I had to do was draw the line, set this up, I click accept, and then I've got it. All right. Now, a couple of things. First off, you're like, yeah, I could have just drawn a rectangle on this plane. Well, in this case, the two towers are even. If they are uneven, there's really not a better way to do this. Okay. The other thing is if you had drawn it where the midpoint of your rectangle was just touching the arcs, you would have had gaps here. You can also see that this filled those gaps in on these round surfaces. Okay. Now, I can do, obviously that's like, okay, great. Wonderful. We're going to go ahead and remove that feature. And I'm just going to go ahead and edit this sketch. But, there's also different things you can do. So I can take and I can do a more complex line here. Go straight down, go over, go straight up, back to even, and the horizontal line over to touch. And of course, you would normally use your dimensions too, or relationships to make that. But again, when you exit your sketch, we can grab our rib tool. And if you don't have it, you can click on that. So we've got that selected. It's pointed down and over. And I'm going to accept that. And it's going to go ahead and make my rib tool with that more complex shape. I'm going to go ahead and go back to editing my sketch. And just for fun, I'm going to actually delete that line. I'm going to make this one no longer horizontal, and I'm going to make those 2 points coincident. Let's see if it's stuck. Yeah, it did stick. All right. So I'm going to make this as my profile. I'm going to exit my sketch, and you can see, I can even do them with angled lines. Okay. Now, sometimes things get a little interesting when we start adding curves to the mix, or we start wanting to do something a little bit interesting. I'm going to go ahead and dump this completely. And this looks like it should be kind of a simple thing, but let's just say real quick that I wanted to do something a little bit different, where it was going into kind of some blank space here. So let me go ahead, and I'm still going to go with the front plane. I'm going to start my sketch. I am going to still start off at this top point, and I'm going to just draw down here till it connects. I know it's not going to be fully defined. I need to probably do something like this to give it a locational dimension. Sure, we'll go ahead and just simplify it to 85. And I probably would have needed to do something at the top to make sure it stayed. So anytime, just as a quick little side note, let's go ahead and fully define this. Anytime we have a line touching an arc of something else, we will get a coincident relationship, but it won't really like be attached and fully defined. If I highlight the point and I highlight the circle, it'll give me a relationship called pierce. And if I use that, it should fully define it. I don't know why it doesn't automatically generate the pierce relationship, but that's an issue for another day. I'm going to go ahead and exit this. And again, I'm on purpose setting this up on this line. And it looks like this should work just fine. And when I hit accept, it tries to tell me it's not going to intersect the model at all, which is weird because it's pointing right at the model. We have this issue when your rib sometimes goes towards a round object or starts from a round object. Even though it worked just fine before, I'm going to show you the fix. So if you draw your rib the way you think it should work and it doesn't work, here's a quick little tip. If you go back to your sketch, and all I'm going to do is use my line tool, and I'm going to add a line segment going this way. Just a horizontal line segment. So essentially the profile goes into the circle a little bit and not just touches it on the edge. Pretty sure that's what the issue is. So if I do that and I go back to my rib tool and I pick this line, even though it uses that, you can see the rib is kind of going into the circular surface, and I accept it, it'll actually make it. Even though when you zoom in, it very much stops right at that lip, okay, and merges it in. I don't know why it does that, but it does do that. So it can do that sort of stuff. And the last one I'm going to show you is I want to show you that we don't have to use just straight lines. We can use arcs and stuff like that. So I'm going to go ahead again on the front plane, start one. We are going to use our 3-point arc. I am going to pick the start and the end, and I'm going to bend it down like this. I already know because it would go into these that it's not going to like it, so I'm going to go ahead and real quick add in a little horizontal line on that side and a horizontal line on the other side as well, because both of them meet round objects. I'm going to exit my sketch. I'm going to click rib. Again, down, everything's thrown there where it's meeting the cylinders. It goes over a little bit. And now I've got that rounded rib. So again, you can use different shapes. I could have used lines and filleted the corners. All that sort of stuff works to get those complex shapes. So that's how the rib tool works. Some people use it a lot. Some people use it every once in a while. But it is a useful tool to know, especially when you go in and try to do segment 1 of your CSWP.